The Sharks have trouble with giving up quick goals after they score. How bad of a problem is it? And who could be responsible?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Western Conference Tuesdays here on the Locked On NHL channel. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly part of the Locked On Network. Cover your team every day. If you want to be an everyday, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be looking at one of the biggest issues that have plagued the Sharks this young season. That is giving up goals right after you score a goal. I did my homework on this one, so we're going to look into that, look into what might need to change, why, if it's the defensive pairings. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, the Sharks, if you haven't been watching the Sharks, they've have a bit of an issue where they score a goal, and then they quickly give up a goal. So, I went through and I tracked every goal that the Sharks scored this year. They've scored 32 goals this NHL season, which is not the worst. Not the worst. They are currently goals for. They're currently 25th, at least in raw goals. If you look at goals for per game, they're down at 30th at 2.46, but still improvements from what we've seen last year. So what I did is I went through and I looked at every Sharks goal, and I looked what happens next. And I kind of put them in three categories. Either the Sharks scored a goal, so they scored back-to-back goals. The Sharks conceded the next goal, or it was the end of the game. So those are kind of the three buckets, right? Because really that's it, right? You can either never score the end of the game, like even if they score in the first period and nobody else scores, like that's the last goal of the game, end of the game, right? Or if the Sharks score, who scores next? So let's look at what happens. And if you're watching on YouTube, I've made pie charts because more people will come if you say there's punch and pie. So let's look at what happens typically when the Sharks score a goal. What happens next? And 25% of the time, the Sharks score the next goal, which is what you want, right? You're either trying to come back, like in the Utah game, or you're trying to put a team away, type of scenario. The end of the game is kind of the net is the Sharks score 15.6% of their goals that's the last goal of the game. Either it's the game winner, a la Alex Wenberg in overtime, you're icing the game with an empty netter, like Eklund, something like that. 59.4% of the time, the Sharks give up the next goal, which is bad. If you want the raw numbers, so of the 32 goals, the Sharks score the next goal 8 times, which is good, but you want that number higher. 5 of the goals are empty net goals. 19, the Sharks. So 32 goals the Sharks have scored. The next goal 19 times was by the opposing team. Something to also keep in mind: the Sharks score next. That is very much propelled by the Utah game where they scored 4 goals in a row. So 3 of those 8 goals comes in the Utah game where they were desperately trying to come back. So that's an area of problem for the Sharks is when you score a goal, you need to continue to build momentum. This is a young team, new team, et cetera, new coaching staff, right? But this is a problem that as these Sharks continue to grow and try to become better, that you want to see that number shrink, where you're building on your lead, right? You're trying to put teams away. But I'd even dug deeper. So what happens with how quickly they're scored? And I think this is the crux of the issue here is it stinks, yes, to give up that next goal, right? Nobody wants to give up the next goal in that story. Like, you want to score 2 in a row and continue to kind of move forward and put a team away. That's what good teams do, right? They put teams away. And you see teams like Vegas, right? And Winnipeg, and those good teams are, as soon as the Sharks scored, what did they do? Excuse me. They went out and they got the next goal. Kind of crushed any sort of a comeback. And that's where you see the huge problem with the Sharks here is how quickly the next goals were conceded. So I put them into 3 buckets. Goals that were scored within 0 to 3 minutes, which kind of feels like the next couple shifts, right? You come out next, momentum, like you're feeling good, you scored the next goal, then what happens? Do you continue to push or do you give up the next goal right away? So 0 to 3 minutes. Then I did 3 minutes to 10 minutes. And then I did 10 plus minutes. 57.9% of those 19 goals were scored in 0 to 3 minutes. So that means, boom, the Sharks, not only are they giving up the next goal, but they're giving up really fast. And this is, if you watch the Sharks, and all this season, this has been a huge problem. But I want to highlight how big of a problem this is for San Jose. If they want to try to get better, try to kind of, this is a developmental piece for the Sharks, is how do you get better in this? And I think this right here is one of their biggest issues, is because anytime it feels like they might be crawling back into a game, they earn their opportunity, like they get a goal, things are feeling good, and then it just quick 180, they give up the next goal, and they do it within 3 minutes. 3 to 10 minutes, 21%, and 10 minutes or more, 21%, 21.1%. The raw numbers for those, 11 goals given up in 3 minutes, 4 goals in 3 to 10, and 4 in 10 plus minutes. So the Sharks this year, 11 times after they have scored a goal. Remember, they've only scored 32 goals. 11 times after they have scored a goal, they've given up a goal within the next 3 minutes, and that is absolutely killer. Because you don't have a chance. You're just inviting the other team back into the game, right? Or if you were trying, especially for the Sharks who've been down most games, you're a team that is trying to come back, make it a game, you tie things up, and then you literally the next shift or the next couple shifts, you give it right back. And that is something that the Sharks team, when they talk about learning how to win, this is exactly what they're talking about, is how do you fix this? How do you get so that you're scoring the next goal and now you're up by 2, right? Or you've tied the game, or you've given yourself a lead. How do you kind of ride that momentum and keep things going? And I think that is going to be one of the biggest things that the Sharks will need to work at. So we're going to look at kind of the defensive pairs and kind of trends that we've noticed with that I've noticed as I kind of did this tracking project to see what happened, right? So we're going to look at kind of the defensive pairings to see who is out there, and then changes that need to be made, or at least changes I think that need to be made to try to fix this issue, and why that might be actually pretty doable. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't a search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data. And a matching engine helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So, join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked-on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. And this NFL season, you can still tackle the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 on bonus bets guaranteed if you win. So the FanDuel Sportsbook gives you everything you need to place your live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get the hunch in the middle of a game and check out the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. I think Tyreek, give me a Tyreek touchdown this weekend. That's all I'm saying. So that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's continue by looking at kind of who's responsible. I guess it's a little bit mean, but what happened with some of these quick goals, right? Because it's not just like one person doing this, right? It is definitely a team effort, and things happen, and like there's issues, of course, throughout of like what's going on and why are you giving up goals, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's important though to look at just common names that are out there. And I don't again, this isn't a plus minus thing. I hate plus minus. Plus minus is one of my least favorite stats, just because there's so much that could go wrong and that you may not have anything to do with, right? With why a goal, right? You could be doing everything you need to be doing over in your little corner of the ice, and somebody screws up something over here, and then the puck goes in the back of the net, and you had nothing to do with it, and you get hit with a minus. So I hate plus minus, but I do want to, you're going to see a lot of familiar names in here. So I looked at the defensive pairings on the ice whenever the Sharks were giving up these quick goals, right? 19 goals that they gave up within 3 minutes after they scored a goal. So who is kind of at fault here? So we had Ferraro-Rutta were out there for 27.3%. Ferraro Benning out there for 9.1. Thrun CC 9.1. CC Rutta 9.1. Walman Rutta 9.1. And special teams 36.4%. So I wanted to kind of talk about the special teams aspect of it here first. So for the Sharks in that scenario, they give up a lot of these opportunities where you score a goal and then you're either on the penalty kill, which happened 3 times, or you give up a shorthanded goal, which is even worse. That happened once against Vegas. So scoring a goal and then ending up on the penalty kill and giving up a goal within 3 minutes is just like a horrible sequence of events right there. Like that is something they really have to work on. And we've seen them get better at this. And really that kind of PK really highlighted in the Jets game where this happened. They score a goal and they give up the next goal on a penalty kill. And then you also saw this in one of the Ducks games where they score a goal and then they right back on the penalty kill. And that was the second Ducks game. So brutal. You can't do that. But they have gotten better at the not giving up as many penalties. Like you're not kind of seeing this problem. So hoping this one kind of cleans itself up just automatically. But the Ferraro-Rutta combo is killing us, to be honest. And like guys are gonna like, Walman Rutta, CC Rutta, Thrun CC, like whatever combo, like those are gonna potentially happen. But the Ferraro-Rutta is, I think, the big one for the Sharks right now. This is the one that is they are struggling. This pairing is struggling. And we've talked about it yesterday a little bit, but I think because they have a tough time moving the puck out of the zone. And I think that is one of the biggest issues. And I don't know if this might be where we'll kind of talk about the changes necessary here in a couple minutes, but this pairing just right now isn't working. And the way that they are utilized, you can see the results here where the Sharks need to continue to kind of whatever they're doing that got them that goal. They need to continue to try to do those things. And the Ferraro-Rutta pairing, which has been kind of used as Ryan Warsofsky's shutdown pairing, it's not shutting things down at the moment. So is this more of a Ferraro thing? Is this more of a Rutta thing? If I had to choose between the two, I think it's Jan Rutta. And we've kind of discussed where it looks like he just might be losing a step, might be, we've seen him take a lot more penalties than we're used to seeing from Jan Rutta. Like he just doesn't look like this, and that's to be expected, right? He's kind of entering his mid-30s right now. I think Jan Rutta might be kind of one of your biggest, if not your biggest issue, especially when it comes to this. It's just like you can't throw him out there when you're either A, trying to protect a lead, B, you're going to get a pushback, right? You score a goal, what typically happens? The next shift, that team tries to push back. And the Sharks keep getting caught with Mario Ferraro and Jan Rutta out there, typically hemmed in their own zone while the other team is trying to create offense. And yes, the forwards help and tracking the product. It was, Granlund was out there a fair amount of time. Like the Granlund line was out, which is what you would expect. Like you'd want. I get Ryan Warsofsky's thinking, right? Is I'm going to put my best line, especially if they don't score, right? If it's not the Granlund line scoring, I'm going to put my best line out there to try to push things, and I'm going to put my best defensive pairing out there, which I told it make my best shutdown, quote unquote, shutdown defensive pairing, which makes sense, right? Put your best guys out there, Granlund, Toffoli, Eklund. See if you guys can try to push things forward. The problem is if they get stuck in their own zone, they get stuck in their own zone because Mario Ferraro and Jan Rutta just are not very good at getting the puck moving. I think that's why you saw the Timothy Liljegren trade. And I think that's why you're seeing the Sharks really hoping for Mukhamadullin to get up to speed here quickly at the Barracuda. And maybe the return of Jack Thompson, hopefully in the lineup. Doesn't seem like it for Tuesday's game, but I think that's where the big issue is. And I think that's what we're going to talk about next is kind of maybe we need a change in approach here. Kind of look at some of the potential guys that could help that out. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awards winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just need to pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can win 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. And if you sign up today, you'll get $50 instantly. When you play $5, you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. With PrizePicks, you can win money with your favorite player collects points. So if you think Macklin Celebrini has more goal than 0.5 goals in them, especially in his return, You get more on them in your prize picks entry and turn your predictions into cash. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app. Use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize picks. Run your game. All right. So before we continue, we try to, again, find some solutions to this problem. Do want to, of course, thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. For your second listen, go check out one of the other great shows here at the Locked On Network. You've got Locked On Fantasy Hockey. So if your fantasy hockey team needs some help, Jake Walman, go get him if he's on. If you're a Sharks fan, you know Jake Walman. It's going to help your fantasy team right now. Or go check out one of the other shows here in the Bay Area, right? You got Locked On Niners, you got Locked On A's, Locked On Warriors, Locked On Giants. So whatever floats your boat, we got you covered here at the Locked On Network, where we can cover your team every day. All right, let's look at. So we know we need some changes, right? Because you can't just keep doing the same thing and expect different results. And I think for the Sharks, it's trying to get more puck handling defensemen out there. So at all times, even when you're trying to defend a lead, you need to have somebody who's good at moving the puck. And so I went to all three zones. Corey Schneider does a great job of tracking. He tracks like data. He's been on the show before. We had him on last year. We talked about how poor this blue line is going to be. And in today's NHL, you need defensemen who can get the puck from point A to point B, right? And that's something the Sharks are actively looking at. Again, you went out of your way to trade Timothy Liljegren. You got Jake Walman this offseason. Like you're starting to do that. You have Shakir Mukhamadullin in the pipeline, Luca Cagnoni in the pipeline. Like they are coming, but they need some help right now. So here's kind of where the current Sharks players sit in this year. So if you're watching on YouTube, the left column here says basically, or the left side of the graph says exits with possession per 60. So it's basically how often are you able to kind of get the puck out, and then clears per 60. Just how often can you get it out without like actually just turning it over? And you see, if you're watching on Jake Walman is like with most of these graphs, if you're in the upper right quadrant, you're doing pretty well. Jake Walman doing really well. Like he's over in the like John Carlson like neighborhood. Like he's very good at what he's doing. Again, who would trade Jake Walman and give up a second round pick to do it? Insane. You look at and this is last year's Sharks and this year's Sharks to kind of give you a little bit of more clarity with it. So Henry Thrun, not great at exiting with the zone, but when he does get it going, like it's usually not a ton of turnovers. Cody Ceci, less so than that. Jan Rutta this year, less like not that like kind of in the I'm not going to carry the puck out of the zone, and I'm also going to probably turn it over. Mario Ferraro last year was kind of in that same bucket, but he's been much better this year at getting the puck out, like kind of the exits with possession per 60. He's done a very good job, a much better job, even much better than I expected when I saw this. And I think for the Sharks is you need to find somebody else who can live in that upper right-hand quadrant. That way you can have somebody out there at all times who can get the puck moving for you. And I think that's where a Jack Thompson comes in. I think we saw, especially in the AHL, we saw Jack Thompson do a good job of it. I know right now Jack Thompson's not really on the Sharks. You know, he's been in the in the press box the past couple of games. Shakir Mukhamadullin also good at that if he needs to carry the puck out of the zone. Luca Cagnoni is excellent at it, but again, I want him to stay. We've talked about Luca Cagnoni a bajillion times on this show. Let him stay and cook in the AHL. That way, when he comes up, he just stays up. That's kind of the hope and goal with Luca Cagnoni. But right now, I think the Sharks need to have a different mentality of, okay, we scored a goal. Sweet. Let's put out guys who can get the puck moving. And I think that's where Timothy Liljegren is going to excel, right? Is Jake Walman, who's done a great job with it, like leads actually, again, plus minus is a dumb stat, but Jake Walman's a plus. Like he's +2 this year, which is mind-boggling to think about for the Sharks team, right? But every time Walman is on the ice, the Sharks do positive things, especially in the offensive zone. And Walman typically leads to goals, which is what you want to see. You can't go from we worked really hard to score a goal to let's get our two most defensive oriented guys on the ice and see if they can hold a lead. This team, the margin of error is too small for this team to think that way. And I hope Ryan Warsofsky kind of over the next, couple weeks here realizes like we got to do something different. And as soon as with Liljegren getting more comfortable, hopefully is able to get the puck moving, and that's what he does, and that's what he does very well. Gonna give him some time. Like even we talked about this after the trade, you got to give him some time to get acclimated. Expect the power play. It's probably gonna be little bumps right now as they get used to it, but I would love to see. All right, Walman's out there. The Sharks score a goal. Liljegren and whoever you Liljegren, Ferraro, whoever your party pairing up with him, that's out there. That's your next group. Like basically it. That way they can keep pushing. And when you know that the other team is going to push, you have a release and you have an answer for the other team. So, and then once Mukhamadullin gets in, or if Jack Thompson can earn some ice time, or whoever, if they have Lucas Carlson, who's getting back, known for his offensive prowess, getting back from injury. Like, get me somebody who can move as soon as you score a goal. Like, if Walman's not going back out there, get me somebody who can move the puck. Because I don't want to spend the next 3 minutes in my own zone where you give up a goal. And I think that will help the Sharks so much. I think is just getting someone who can help transition the offense. Even if you do spend a fair amount of time, you expect to get pushed, right? You're going to get pushed. Do you have a release? Do you have someone who isn't going to get flustered, isn't going to just crack when the pressure's on, and get someone who can get the puck moving? I think if you can find that guy, so when Jake Walman's out there helping to score goals, the next guy up, basically, boom, let's go. Let's keep it going. Whatever pressure, let's counterattack. Let's go. Let's try to make it a 2-goal lead. That way, you're not giving up 11 goals within 3 minutes after you score a goal. So, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things right now. So hopefully, with the return of Macklin Celebrini, gives the Sharks a little bit more offensive prowess with the lines, where they can have two lines out there that they fully trust. And get another puck-moving defenseman, whether it's Liljegren or Mukhamadullin or whomever. Get one of those guys, get them comfortable, and get them to, again, know that role. If Walman's out there and they score, you're going out. If, Liljegren's out there and they score, Walman, you're going out next. Like that should be the role, is whichever one of you two wasn't out there, one of you guys, you're going out as soon as the Sharks score a goal to try to help facilitate, kind of ease the pressure of that. So that's going to be it for me today. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about Macklin Celebrini's return as the Sharks host the Blue Jackets. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Until tomorrow. Bye, friends.